بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحابته أجمعين. إن شاء الله تعالى هنبدأ مع بعض المحاضرة رقم 1 في الكورس الخاص بالفاينانشال مانجمنت اند انفستمنت. محدثكم البروفيسور دكتور تامر محمد شهوال, Professor of Financial Management, Department of Management, Faculty of Commerce, Zagazig University, and at the same time I'm English Section Coordinator, Faculty of Commerce, Zagazig University. In the lecture of today, we are going to discuss chapter 1, which is the role of managerial finance. In main points that we are aiming to cover is as follows. Number 1, we are going to discuss the main definition of financial management. What is financial management? Second point is to discuss in detail the goal of the firm. Number 3 is to discuss what we call organization of the financial management, discussing different forms of business organizations, and finally giving a small hint about financial market. A main objectives that we are targeting at the end of this lecture is to explain what is financial management, describe financial management in terms of 3 major decision areas that confront the financial manager. Number 3, identify the primary activities of the financial manager and why the role of the financial manager today is so important. Number 4, describe the legal forms of business organization, and finally discussing the nature of the principal-agent relationship between the owners and managers. First of all, if someone is asking me what is the basic definition of financial management, financial management, it looks like any type of management. It is a certain type of process. Such a process is mainly concerned with the acquisition, financing, and the management of assets with some overgoal in mind. In other words, we could define financial management as a process that is concerned with mainly 3 basic decisions. The first one, investment decision. Second one, financing decision. And the third one is the asset management decisions. Such a process is aimed to maximize the market value of owner equity. And this is the ultimate goal of the financial manager. The financial manager is aiming to support and to address the following 3 decisions or the following 3 questions. The first question or the first decision that the financial manager is going to support is, number 1, what long-term investment should the firm engage in? This is known as investment decision, or sometimes we refer to it as capital budgeting decision. If someone is asking me what is the first decision that the financial management is going to support, we could say the first decision is the investment decisions or capital budgeting decision. In such a type of decision, 90% of the decision could be described as a long-term investment. This is why if you would like to investigate the investment policy or investment decisions of a specific firm, you must investigate the left-hand side of the balance sheet of a specific firm, particularly the fixed asset part. The fixed asset part existed in a specific balance sheet. It will reflect what long-term investment should the firm engage in. And I think this is the logic step which is required from any financial manager. At the beginning, he should decide and he should determine what long-term investment the firm should be engaged in. The second logic decision which is related to financial management is how can the firm raise the money for the required investment? How can the firm raise the money for the required investment? We refer to such a type of decision as financing decisions or capital structure decision. In this type of decision, the financial manager is mainly concerned with what is the size of capital, particularly if this firm is a new firm or just established firm, and what is the structure of this capital. As we will see later, a capital structure of a specific firm could be divided into different sources, and we could slice a capital structure into different types. We could depend on short-term debt, or we could depend on long-term debt, or we could depend on owner equity. And we have different sources of capital that we could use for financing and funding a specific project. And you, as a financial manager, you must determine what is the size of this capital and how we could size up such capital. After you specify what is the investment and how we could fund such a type of investment, we are moving to the third important decision, which is asset management decision, or sometimes we refer to it as working capital management. What is the meaning of working capital management? In such a type of decision, we are mainly concerned with how much short-term cash flow does a company need to pay its bills. In this stage, we would like to ensure whether a firm will have enough liquidity to pay its short-term obligations or not. In such a situation, we could use a very important quick to assess the ability of your firm to pay its obligation, particularly over a short term, by using what we call net working capital. Net working capital NWC, I refer to it by NWC, net working capital. It equals to current assets minus current liability. If you give a look for such equation, NWC, net working capital, which equals to current assets minus current liability, we have one of two probability, either a positive sign or negative sign. A positive sign, it is a good indicator of a good liquidity of your firm. However, the negative sign is a bad indicator regarding the liquidity of your firm, because negative sign means current assets are not sufficient to cover your current liability, and this is a bad signal. If such a situation will be exaggerated, in this case, this could lead to the bankruptcy of the firm. So you must be careful about how is the sign of your net working capital, and if it is a negative sign, you must exert quick efforts to correct such a situation. By the end of this slide, we could summarize that the financial management is aiming to support three basic decisions. The first one is long-term investment, which is investment decision or capital budgeting decision. The second one is financing decision or capital structure decision. And the third one is asset management decision or working capital management. If we would like to express those decisions using what we call the balance sheet model of the firm. Of course, from accounting, or based on your accounting knowledge, you know that the balance sheet of a specific firm, it consists of two sides. The left-hand side, which reflect total value of assets that include current assets plus fixed assets. Fixed assets can be divided into tangible asset and intangible assets. The left hand side of a firm balance sheet, we refer to it by a total liability plus owner equity, which is a reflection of the total firm value to investors. The right hand side include current liability plus long-term debt. This will reflect the total liability of this firm plus the shareholder equity. Let us now go back to what is the first decision of financial management. The first decision of the financial management is what long-term investment should the firm engage in, and this is the capital budgeting decision. As you see, if you are interested to investigate the investment decision of a specific firm or the capital budgeting decision of a specific firm based on the balance sheet model of the firm, you must go directly to the fixed asset part of the firm balance sheet, and based on this investigation, you will be aware of what long-term investments should the firm engage in. The second type of decision, it's called the capital structure decision. If you are interested to investigate the capital structure decision, such a type of decision will be reflected in the right hand side of the firm balance sheet. As you see, the capital structure decision is showing how can the firm raise the money for the required investment. Such a type of capital or money can be raised based on either using current liability or long-term debt, or we could depend on shareholders' equity as one of the sources for funding a specific investment. The third decision is mainly concerned with the net working capital investment decision. As I told you, the net working capital investment decision, we are aiming to make a comparison between what is the current asset and what is the current liability, and we taking the difference between them to determining what is the sign of net working capital. A positive sign, it's a good indicator showing enough liquidity that this firm is able to pay its bill. However, a negative sign, it implies that net working capital is not enough, and as this firm is not able to pay its current liability. This means that this firm is facing a liquidity problem, and this is unhealthy condition of a specific firm. Finally, net working capital investment decision, it's try to inform you how much short-term cash flow does the company need to pay its bill. Let us go back to a very important topic in finance. It's called capital structure. Capital structure, it's important. Yes, it's important because based on the capital, you could determine the value of the firm. If the capital of a specific firm is small, so this means that the value of the firm is small. If a capital is large, but the value of the firm will be large. This means that the value of the firm could be thought as a buy, like a pizza or apple pie. You, as a manager, a main goal of you as a manager is to increase the size of the pie. Yani a successful situation will be occur if the financial manager of a specific firm is able to increase the size of the pie, yani increasing the size of capital. And as I told you before, one of a main equation that the financial manager is going to support is what is the size of my capital. After we determine what is the size of the capital, the second important equation in this case is to determine what is the capital structure of my firm. Yani how we are going to size up my capital. Whether I'm going to depend more on debt or whether we are going to depend more in equity. For instance, some financial managers, they could prefer 70% debt and 30% equity. Other type of manager, they maybe could prefer vice versa, 75% equity and 25% debt. If someone is going to ask me which capital structure is preferable, whether we are going to depend more on debt or equity, In such a situation, we must take in our consideration many factors. As I told you, a culture existed in a society. It will affect on a capital structure of your firm. In some societies, you could find citizens of these societies, they prefer the concept of equity because they prefer to trade in stock market. But in this case, depending on equity, it will ease your way to get the required capital. But in some societies, citizens prefer and the idea of getting credit is highly appreciated. In such a situation, the dependence on debt could ease your way to get the required capital for your investment. يبقى in the capital, finally we could summarize this part as in the capital structure, you as a financial manager mainly concerned with two basic questions. Number one, what is the size of a capital? Because this size will determine the value of your firm. Second one is what is the proper capital structure? يعني how we are going to size up our capital. Whether we are going to depend more on debt or whether we are going to depend more on equity. And as I told you, it will depend on many factors such as the culture of the society, such as the cost of the capital itself, because every source of capital, every type of the capital source, it will depend on a specific cost, and you must take such a cost in your consideration to minimize total cost, and then you could maximize your expected return in such a situation. By the end of the first part of lecture 1, we could say that to create a value, the financial manager should try to make smart investment decision, try to make smart financing decision, and be concerned with the management of current assets than with that of fixed assets. In other words, the financial manager must be keen to create a positive net working capital. In the area of finance, actually, you could find different career opportunities in finance. These careers are mainly concerned with providing financial services, such as banking, such as personal finance, financial planning, investments, real estate, insurance. All of these things could be, we could refer to it as financial service, and such type of financial service provide different products, provide different services to the society. So if you are involved in one of those financial services, this will represent a good career opportunity. So if you are involved in one of those career opportunities, you are responsible for conducting the following. Yani, you are responsible for conducting the following tasks. Number one, you are, as a financial manager, you are responsible for developing a financial plan or financial budget. Yani for your firm, you are responsible for editing and developing and analyzing the financial plan or the budget. Also, you are responsible for extending credit to customers. Number 3, you are responsible for evaluating proposed large expenditures. And if you have different projects, you have different alternatives. One of the main duty and responsibility of managerial managers and financial managers is to evaluate such types of projects and selecting the proper one. Also, one of the responsibility of the financial manager is to raise money to fund the firm operations, and these are different tasks related to managerial financial manager. The importance of managerial finance, financial management and investment actually increased due to many events. Number 1, the existence of different global financial crises. The existence of different global financial crises and its subsequent response. Such a type of event affected different partners existed in the market, affected government regulators, increased global competition. Also, the rapid technology change also increased the importance and complexity of the financial environment. Such event must be increased the importance of financial management and investment. Yani every firm, they must have very smart financial manager due to increasing a complexity of the financial environment. And this also increase the responsibility of the financial manager. So if someone is asking you why the importance of financial management and investment increase, number 1, the existence of recent global financial crisis and its subsequent responses. Also increasing a global competition, the rapid change in technology, all of these things increase the level of complexity of the financial environment and increase the responsibility of the financial managers. Also increasing the idea and the concept of globalization. And if you give a look for our world, you will find this concept of globalization. It becomes the fact in our life. The existence of such a globalization concept, it will affect on cash flow of your firm. It will affect on the level of risk, because the idea of globalization, it will increase the level of risk due to increasing international transactions. Such an idea of globalization will be considered as a challenge facing any type of organization, and this will increase the responsibility of the financial manager. If you are involved in studying finance and then after your graduation, of course, you will try to submit for a specific position. In this case, managerial finance and investment, they could provide you with different types of professional certification in finance, such as CFA, Chartered Financial Analyst. We have also certified treasury professional, CTP, and we have what we call certified financial planner. Certified financial planner is to obtain CFP status. A student must pass a 10-hour exam covering a wide range of topics related to personal financial planning. Of course, the existence of such different types of certificates, a main purpose of it is to increase your ability to compete in the market. Second part of our lecture is to discuss what is the goal of your firm. If someone is asking you as a financial manager, what you are trying to do for your firm. Actually, a main goal of the firm passed with different stages. The first stage, this was in about 1950s. If someone is asking any financial manager what he is seeking to achieve, he is going to answer, my goal is profit maximization. Yani he is going to maximize a firm earning after tax. In the 1950s, as a financial manager, a main goal of the financial manager is profit maximization. He is aiming to maximize a firm earnings after taxes. After a while, they found that such a type of goal is not proper for the financial manager, and they already switched it to another goal to be the ultimate goal of the financial management, which is maximizing the current value per share of the existing stock. Maximizing the current value per share of the existing stock. But okay, it's nice. Yani if you succeeded to maximize the current value per share, it's a nice goal or objective. However, such a type of goal, it's only proper for a certain type of organization. It's only proper for corporation type of organization. Yani if your firm is in a shape of corporation, okay, this goal or objective, it's a nice one because you are going to maximize the current value per share. Therefore, the main disadvantage of such objective, it is not a proper for every type of organization. It's not a proper for every type of organization. For example, if your organization is in a shape of sole proprietorship, شركات ذات ملكية فردية, or if your firm is in a shape of partner, شركات أشخاص, whatever, general partner or limited partner, in this case, I couldn't use this goal as a main goal for the firm because maximizing the current value per share, it's not a proper for these types of business organization. This is why in the literature review of finance, they agreed today about the ultimate goal of the financial of firms that is to maximize the market value of the existing owner equity. يعني if someone is asking you now what is the main goal of your firm, we could say the main goal of the firm is to maximize the market value of the existing owner's equity. يبقى again, as you see here, profit maximization, although the profit maximization would be the most commonly cited business goal, but it faces many disadvantages. Number one, they found in a profit maximization, it's not very a precise objective. What do you mean by profit maximization? Do you mean the accounting profits or economic profit? You must try to specify what you would like to say when I say profit maximization. Do we mean something like accounting, net income, or we mean earnings per share? It was not very precise in this matter. Number two, in this type of goal doesn't tell us the proper trade-off between current and future profit. And this goal doesn't tell us the proper trade-off between current and the future profits. Therefore, they switching from profit maximization to maximizing stock value. Actually, the goal of maximizing the value of the stock, a market value of the stock, avoids the problem associated with the previous goal. Of course, it's very precise. However, maximizing stock value is not a proper goal for each type of corporation which have no traded stocks, such as sole proprietorship. يعني if you give a look for a sole proprietorship, شركة ذات أي ملكية أي فردية زي الدكان بتاع محمد البواب مثلا. Such a sole proprietorship, actually it has no traded stock. So if there is no stock, how could you argue that you are aiming to maximize its stock value? It will not a proper in this case. The main disadvantage of maximizing stock value as a goal of financial management is that it is not a proper for every type of business organization, such as sole proprietorship, partnership, such a type of firms. There is no traded stock, so we couldn't argue that our goal is to maximize its stock value. Therefore, nowadays they decided to stick to the following goal or objective as the ultimate goal of financial management, which is maximizing the market value of the equity. Maximizing a market value of equity, or what we call maximizing the waste of its owners. It's the same. Either you say maximizing the market value of the equity or maximizing the waste of its owner. They found that this goal will fit for each type of corporation because it doesn't matter whether the business is a proprietorship or partnership or a corporation. يعني whatever the shape of your firm, أما إذا كانت شركة ذات ملكية فردية أو شركات هي أشخاص أو شركات أي مساهمة, whatever the shape of this firm, we could argue that our goal is to maximize the market value of the owner equity. The following are certain type of review questions, and you must be aware of answers of this question. The first one is, what is the goal of financial management? Number two, what are some shortcomings of the goal of profit maximization? And what are the major areas in finance? The third part of lecture 1, we would like to discuss the relationship between firm and the financial market. Because actually a firm is not isolated. There is a certain type of environment, and one of the important components of the firm environment is the financial market. What is the relationship between firm and the financial market? Imagine there is a firm, and this firm is in a need for capital, for investing in a specific assets. How this firm could obtain the required capital? One of the solutions for the firm is to use the financial market as one of the source of getting such a type of capital. How this will be done? So the firm will issue a specific stock or issuing bond, and such a type of stock and the bond will be sold in the financial market. By selling those securities in the financial market, you will gain the required capital. And then you as a firm, you will be able to invest this capital in different fixed assets. Through the management of the assets, you are going to create a specific type of cash flow. Part of the cash flow generated from the management of the assets will be used in different ways. Part of this cash flow will be used for paying taxes for government. Second part of this generated cash flow could be used as dividends, and could be used for debt payments. The remaining part of the cash flow will be retained by the firm in a shape of retained earnings to increase its ability in the future to further invest in different types of securities. And this is the relation between firm and the financial markets, and you must be aware of such a relationship. Corporate securities as contingent claims on total firm value. If there is a firm, we give a look for its capital, and based on this capital, we are going to determine its firm value. I mean by the firm value, the market firm value. Such a concept is important in the catastrophic events, such as bankruptcy. If there is a firm and this firm is going to be bankrupted. In this case, the first priority, or we say a contingent claim, the first contingent claim is going to pay it for creditors. Creditors, they have the the priority in getting their claims under the bankruptcy condition. Then the second part, or the second contingent claims, will be given for bond holders. The third contingent claim on total firm value will be given for preferred stockholders, and if there is something is remaining, this is called the residual. This residual is the right of the common stockholders. Yani, in other words, in the case of bankruptcy, we could rank different partners related to the firm according to their contingent claim as follows. The first contingent claim is going to creditors. The second is contingent claim is given to bondholders. The third contingent claims is going to preferred stockholders, and finally the residual will be given for the common stockholders. And this is give us a good hint about the difference between bond and stocks, and also give us a justification why the investment in stocks is very risky compared to the investment in bonds. Because if the value of your firm is less than the amount promised to the debt holders, the shareholders get nothing. But again, why the investments in stocks is risky than the investment in bond? Because the value of the firm is less than the amount promised to the debt holders. Therefore, the shareholders get nothing, and this is the idea of contingent claims in total firm value. The fourth part of our lecture is we are going to discuss different forms of business organization. Actually, we have three forms of business organization. General form. The first one, it's called the sole proprietorship. The second one is partnership, and this partnership could be a general partnership and limited partnership. And the third type of forms of business organization is the corporation, which is the most common shape of business organization. If we would like to differentiate between the sole proprietorship and the partnership and corporation, we could differentiate between them based on advantages and disadvantages. Those advantages and disadvantages include the following dimensions. Dimension number one, liquidity. How is the liquidity of each one of them, and how is the marketability of ownership? Number two, based on the control within this firm. Number three, liability. Number four, continuity of existence. And finally, tax consideration. Let us give a look for what is the main definition of each one of them. What is the sole proprietorship? Sole proprietorship, it's a business owned by one person and operated for his or her own profits. A partnership, it's a business owned by two or more people and operated for profit. A corporation is an entity created by law. This is why corporation have the legal power of an individual in that it can sue and be sued. and make and be party to contracts and acquire property in its own name. Here, this table summarizes a basic differences between corporation and partnership. Such differences are based on the following dimensions. Dimension number one, liquidity. In a shape of corporation, shares or stocks can easily be exchanged, of course. If I would like to buy, if I would like to sell, I could use the financial market to conduct such a type of trade. However, in the case of partnership, we have additional and substantial restriction. It's not like the corporation. And we could say corporation outperform the partnership form regarding its liquidity. And which one is more liquid? Of course, a corporation. If a corporation is more liquid than the partnership form of business organization. Regarding the voting rights, حقوق التصويت, in the corporation, usually each share gets one vote. Usually each share gets one vote. So if you are owner of this firm, you have a number of votes based on a number of shares that you have. However, generally partner is in charge and he has this voting rights. Sometimes we give the limited partners some voting rights. If again, a corporation is superior in its voting rights. The third dimension is regarding taxation. A corporation, we could say, is facing a certain type of double payment. Yes, it's a double payment. How? Because the first time, a corporation itself is going to pay taxation for government, paying taxes for government. And after we pay dividends and income for the owners, the owner himself is going to pay also income taxes. As you see, a taxation under the form of corporation, it's double. But in the case of partnership, is not. Partners pay taxes on distribution. So the partnership regarding taxation is better than the corporation form. The fourth dimension is regarding reinvestment and dividend payout. In corporation, the idea of giving dividends or not, or reinvesting the net income, this is a decision of a board of directors. It's not a must. And sometimes the board of directors decide to distribute dividends or not. It's not a must in the case of corporation. However, in the shape of partnership, all net cash flow is distributed to partners. A fifth dimension of the comparison between partnership and corporation is regarding liability. What does it mean? In a corporation, it has limited liability. It is based on whether the firm is existed or not. just a firm declare its bankruptcy, there is no liability on the owner of this firm. It's only bounded within the corporation. It will not extend it outside the corporation to the private rights of the owner. This is why we say limited liability. However, this is not the case in the partnership. Generally, partners may have unlimited liability. So if the firm is declared its bankruptcy, a creditor have a right to go to your private money or your private ownership until you fulfill your obligations. Therefore, the general partners form could be described as unlimited liability. However, limited partners as a certain type of partnership form enjoy limited liability. Continuity. A corporation actually it's created to be continued. It's not created for a specific number of years. In most of common firms, corporation has perpetual life. But in the case of partnership, in most of cases, they have limited life. It will be based on life on the partners of this firm. If one of the partner is dead, in most of cases, the partnership firm is dissolved. يتم تفكيكها. But in the case of corporation, it is not like this. Actually, a most feature, or common feature of corporation, that it has perpetual life. Yani it is created to continue. The fifth part of this lecture is to discuss the separation of ownership and control. What does it mean? Let us give you this small story. When the idea of corporation as form of business organization is existed, they found that one of the disadvantage of corporation is the separation between ownership and control. We have owners in a shape of shareholders, and we have manager. Yani, in other words, we have agent in a shape of manager who is running and manage the firm. In the optimal condition, we assume that the managers running the organization according to the interests of owners. Yani, in other words, in the optimal condition, we assume that there is no conflict of interests between managers and owners. However, in specific countries and specific conditions, this is not the case. Sometimes managers are seeking to maximize their own benefits rather than the benefits of owners. And this is known in the financial literature by the agency problem. Agency problems mean there is conflict of interests due to the separation of ownership and control. The existence of such agency problem is very destructive for any firm. And one of the good example of this, what has happened in Enron Corporation. Enron Corporation, this is one of the biggest American company working in the field of energy. Due to the separation of ownership and control, the agency problem has been existed, but it was a little bit very destructive for the Enron. Such a conflict of interests between managers and the owner led to the bankruptcy of Enron. But how could we solve this conflict of interests between managers and owners? One of the solutions they propose at the beginning the existence of board of directors. Because a board of directors can work as a safeguard, Haris Amin, on the benefits and the rights of shareholders against the misuse of resources by managers. However, they found that the existence of board of directors is not enough to reduce and face the agency problem. So they started to think in another way of how we could handle such a problem of agency problem. They introduced to us, or they introduced the concept of corporate governance. In a very simple way, corporate governance can be considered as a set of rules and regulations and standards. Such a set of rules and regulation and standards aims to minimize a conflict between owners and the managers by increasing transparency and disclosure. We could say that a board of directors could be one of the solutions for such a conflict. Corporate governance rule could be another solution for ensuring trust, for motivating managers to maximize the interests of shareholders. They started to use what we call incentives, and they think that if we provide a specific incentive for managers, this could motivate the managers to be careful in their decision and in maximizing the rights of shareholders. If the manager fails to maximize share price, if there is conflict of interests between managers and owner, in this case, the firms may be replaced in a hostile takeover. If the managers fail to maximize share price, they fail to ensure high level of transparency and disclosure. In this case, the firm will be replaced in a hostile takeover. The final part in our lecture is to discuss the concepts of financial market. And we are going to discuss this part in detail, inshallah, in the coming lecture. But I would like to give more emphasis on two basic types of financial market. The first basic type, it's called primary market versus what we call secondary market. What is the primary market? The primary market, it's a market where we are using it for issuing stocks for the first time. يعني in the primary market, it's a market where we are going to issue the new security. But this means that every type of security existed in the primary market is a newly issued. It's a new security. Issuing process in a primary market could be either issued publicly, and in this case will be considered as a public offering, or could be done privately, and this it will be known as a private placement. When we are going to issue a specific stock, you either publish such a type of stock in a shape of public offerings, yani every one in a society is applicable to buy such a type of asset, or either this stock has been issued in a private placement, and we are targeting a specific investment who have a specific investment where specific investors have only the right to buy such a type of stocks. This is the primary market. After the stock has been issued, any further trade, any further buy or sell on the existing security, it will be accomplished in the secondary market. This means that securities may be exchanged, traded, or trade over the counter in a dear market. The following figure summarizes the basic differences between primary market and the secondary market. As you see, primary market, it's a relation between a firm and the financial market. If the firm is going to issue stocks and bond for the first time for getting the required capital and money, this will be done in primary market. After the stock and the bonds have been issued, any further trade between individuals, like in this figure we have Bob and Sue. Those are two individuals. They would like to trade between themselves to buy and sell a specific security, and this will be done in secondary market. The most famous common of the market is the secondary market. So by the end of this lecture, you must be able to, number one, define what is the financial manager. Number two, you must be aware of the basic three decisions related to financial management. You must be aware of different business organization forms. You must be aware of different goals of financial management, and you must be aware of what is the ultimate goal of the financial management. Then you must be able to know some different types of financial market, such as primary market and secondary market. Thanks for your attention, and see you inshallah ta'ala in the coming lecture with my best wishes.